Hello, 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 everybody. Dustin Harris hanging out with you. Thanks for joining me for another mini-sode. Had a couple things on my mind today that I wanted to share with you. I think might be beneficial. Hopefully will be beneficial. I really hope everything here at the Appraiser Coach podcast is beneficial to you, but something that's on my mind that I had an experience with today and over the weekend that I think definitely applies to our appraisal businesses that I think is important. And it has to do with picking up on subtle clues from our clients and those that we surround ourselves with. I want to remind you, of course, that we are sponsored by ANOW Software. Speaking of clues, you don't have to go searching for clues when you have ANOW Software because, you know what? There's nothing to search for. You just click on a button. You can see your whole business and what's going on in your business right there, folks. It's right in front of your face. Check it out, anow.com/coach, anow.com/coach. Okay, so let me set this up this way. I went to an attorney. I'm trying to decide whether I want to tell this story first or set it up. Let me set it up on a bigger level first, and then we'll get into the attorney experience. So I have always had a bit of a aversion, I guess is the best way to put it, a bit of an aversion to companies, and they're usually mom and pop, but it could be bigger companies as well, who just refuse to have good customer service. And maybe refuse is the wrong word to use here. What I mean is companies who just are lazy. I mean, maybe that's a better way to put it. Just are lazy and just fall down on the stick when it comes to doing things the right way. And it's as simple as picking up the phone and calling back when a message is left or whatever else might be going on. It's just a matter of follow-up. It's such, man, I tell you, I struggle with these companies that just don't follow up. Whether it be a plumber, whether it be a contractor, whether it be a financial planner, I don't care who it is. I've always struggled with the fact that I will put myself out as a customer. I will call, I will leave a message, or I'll send an email or what have you, and then nothing happens. And I just think to myself, holy cow, I can't imagine a customer coming to me and saying, hey, I want to give you some money, and then me not returning their call. Really? I just don't get that. I don't understand that. I think one of the things that has actually made me successful as an appraiser is that I don't do that personally, and I certainly don't allow my office to do that. We follow up on every single phone call, every single email. I shouldn't say never let things slip through the cracks because, we're also human and things do slip through the cracks, but I'll tell you, it's never done purposely. We never simply ignore a potential customer, even if that potential customer is somebody that we've done work for and they're upset and they've left a nasty email. Guess what, folks? I'm going to follow up with that. I'm going to do whatever I can to put the customer first, to put the client first, to give the customer service that I can give. Now, I get it. Some of you are screaming at the radio right now, or if you're on YouTube, hi, Coach Kim, you're yelling at the computer screen. You're saying, but Dustin, we can't have good customer service here because we are bound by the law to not be able to discuss value with, name the party. I get that. I understand that. That's not what I'm talking about here. I'm talking about the simple courtesy of telling them that you can't talk to them about value. The simple courtesy of following up and just being a business owner, being a good business owner. So, two experiences that I had, and then I want to tell you a little bit about what my mentor said today that I think was important. I think it's important to pass on. So, two experiences I had recently. First of all, I bought a new car. And in fact, I did an episode on that earlier, a week or so ago, and told you about that experience. But I didn't tell you about all of the experience. So, and I'm going to cut to the chase. This is a mini-sode. I'm not going to go into a long story. I'll just tell you this. The experience that I had with the car buying process was okay. There were some things I was concerned about. There were some things that I thought I was treated a little bit unfairly. Some times that I was jerked around a little bit, and I felt like, I shouldn't say treated unfairly, I was lied to. Is probably a better way to put it. Probably not the most PC way to put it, but I felt at least one point, and maybe other points as well, that I was flat out told something that was not accurate, and that that upset me. I don't like to be treated that way. I don't like to be jerked around. Just tell me straight. You know what? I get it. It's a car, and they have a reputation. It's not a used car salesman. I get that, but car salesmen tell you what you want to hear. I get that. I understand that. I just don't like it. Okay. So we'll just leave that, aside for just a second. Let me get to the chase. When it came time to sign papers, and I'm sitting at the table, and the salesman, the very lady who I felt was pretty good, other than this one instance where I felt like she kind of jerked me around. She's sitting across the table from me, and I'm signing papers, and she said, "Oh, by the way, you will be getting a survey in the mail from our dealership here in the next day or two. And though there is 1 through 10 as far as your feedback, 10 being the best, 1 being the worst, there really is only 2 choices, because anything less than a 10 for me doesn't look good. And so I would just ask, I'm not going to tell you how to fill out the survey, but I would just ask that if you were satisfied, that you would just give me all 10s. Okay. First of all, it was a little bit weird to be asked that, but then I think to myself, you know what? At the end of every single podcast, I ask you all to jump on and give me a 5-star review. I certainly don't ask for a 4-star. I ask for a 5-star. So, I get it in some sense. It bothered me a little bit, but I'll tell you what I did. In fact, you know what? Hold that for just a second. Let me tell you the other story, and then I'm going to tell you what I did on both of these, okay? The other story I started to tell you earlier is an experience I recently had where I went to a labor attorney, people who deal with contracts when it comes to employees. I'm looking at the possibility of hiring another appraiser to work an area just outside my current area. I may, look nationwide and bring somebody in. I may look local. I haven't decided for sure. But I'm in the process of expanding my area. It's actually an area that I've covered for years, but I'm tired of driving there. So I want to get another individual who's willing to work with me and partner up, if you will, on basically overlapping areas and working together with the same structure. I'm going into way more detail than I need to. Let's just put it this way. I'm looking for a potential other appraiser that I can work with. So I went to a labor attorney. I wanted to set this up right. I've hired before, and my I've hired before, and my contracts are not always ironclad. I wanted an ironclad contract, and I wanted to be able to offer benefits that would be, mutually beneficial for both parties. So I went to a labor attorney, and let me just say that I was very, very, very unhappy with the experience. Constantly following up, constantly bugging him. Hey, Jared, how's that contract coming? Hey, Jared, I haven't heard from you in 3 weeks. Hey, Jared, remember that email that I sent you 3 days ago? I still haven't heard anything on it. Hey, Jared, I got an invoice here for work done, but I don't see any work done. Hey, Jared, are you getting my emails? Hey, Jared, did you get the 3 voicemails that I sent? I mean, it was such a pain in the backside. It just was a pain, the whole process, and I could not wait to be done. In the end, I got a very good contract. I'm very happy with the contract. I ran it by some of my business owner friends who looked at it and said, yeah, this is a really good contract. Ironclad, very good. So I'm happy with that, but I paid way too much, and the follow-up, folks, was just ridiculous. It was just ridiculous. Okay, those are the 2 stories. Let me tell you what I did about both of those. The answer is nothing. I didn't do anything, and here's why. In other words, the survey came over from the dealership. I filled out the survey, and guess what? I gave her all 10s. I'm just going to admit it. Now, some of you just lost a lot of respect for me and said, Dustin, I thought you were a guy of integrity. Okay, let me just be blunt with you guys for a second. I didn't want to deal with the fallout of a 9 or an 8 or a 6 on that survey, because I know for a fact that if I gave her anything less than a 10, she would be on the phone talking to me and saying, hey, man, boy, I wish I would have done a better job for you. What's going on? What did you not like? Or either her or her manager would have followed up. Okay, that's just good business. I didn't want to deal with it, so I was lazy. So I didn't tell her what I really thought about her. Okay, honest truth. Story about the attorney. Okay, I get all done. I get wrapped up, I get my last bill, I paid the bill, and I sent it off, and I was relieved to be done with this guy. I've now got a contract, I'm now set up, I'm ready when I find the right appraiser to work with, I've got everything ready to go, okay? I never emailed his company, I never emailed him and said what a discouraging and disgruntled experience I had with his company. Okay? Now, I want to bring this all to fruition because my mentor said something to me today that I think is super important for business owners to know. Super, super important for business owners to know. But I first want to tell you about something else that's super important for business owners to know, and that is ANow software. ANow I've been using for, almost 2 years now. Love ANow software. It allows me to be able, as a business owner, to focus on the business and not on the intricacies of putting all of the numbers in a spreadsheet and putting them in the formulas and everything. Folks, all I have to do is go to ANow software and look at the analytics tab, and I know exactly how many appraisals I've done so far this month. I know how many are coming up on the due date. I know how many of them are non-lender versus lender. I know how many we did this month as compared to a year ago this month. I mean, that is the kind of stuff that as a business owner you need to know. How about knowing right now how much you have in overdues or accounts receivable that have not been received yet? Yeah, ANow software will do all of that, as well as track every single appraisal order. If you've not tried their free demo, you need to check them out. Go to anow.com/coach, anow.com/coach. All right. We are back. We are talking today about what are we talking today about? We're talking about what's not said sometimes by our clients and our customers that I think is super, super important. Okay. So I told you 2 stories. One of them had to do with an attorney that was writing up a contract for me for a potential employee. And then the other one was an experience I recently had when purchasing a new car. Now, in both situations, I had a negative experience. Now, buying the car was mostly positive, but there was a little bit of negative there, and I should not have given her a 10 all the way down the road when it came to her survey. I shouldn't have done it, but I did because I'm lazy and I don't really want to deal with the fallout of not giving her what she asked for. It was easier for me to mark 10, 10, 10, 10, 10 and move on with my life than it was to really sit there and think about it and give her my honest feedback. I just didn't want to deal with the fallout. As far as the attorney goes, he never actually asked me what my experience was, but I didn't tell him either. I did not offer that information. Okay, I went to lunch with my mentor today. And by the way, total side note, let me get off in the weeds for just a second. Business owners, if you do not have a mentor, okay, somebody, a coach of some kind that you can go to on a regular basis and say, hey, coach, hey, mentor, hey, friend, hey, fellow business owner, here's what I'm dealing with. What are your thoughts? What are your feedback? I tell you, you are missing out on one of the greatest assets of running a business if you don't have that set up. And by the way, it doesn't have to cost you anything, okay? I've had the same mentor for the last 6 years. We probably meet for lunch at least once a week and probably, on average, maybe 6 times a month, okay? On a very regular basis, we sit down. I buy him lunch most of the time. Every once in a while, it's reciprocated, but I don't care. I buy him lunch because to me, that is an investment that is well worth it. We sit down on a regular basis, and yes, sometimes he shares with me some things that he's dealing with in his office and his business, but for the most part, it's one-sided. For the most part, it's me asking for his advice, and it's been a huge asset to me over the years. Okay, so that being said, he's a very smart guy, business owner here in town, and a good friend of mine. Okay, we'll call him Ben because that's what his name is. So I sat down with Ben today, and we were talking about different things. And I didn't even actually bring up the situation that I just told you about with him. He was talking about something else that he was recently opening up a new business, and he went to a bank and just had a horrible experience. And he said to me, he says they have zero idea that I am upset with them. They have no idea that I had a negative experience with them. They don't know. And he said, because you know what? He says, I'm lazy. He says, I should have gone to them and said, hey, here's the deal, folks. You should know that I was not treated very well. I was jerked around. I was told to come in, and I spent an hour and a half doing paperwork. And the next time I came in, they had lost all of it. I had to start over from scratch. There was no apology. I mean, all of the stuff he's telling me that he went through to get to accounts set up at a local bank, the same bank, by the way, that I bank at, that I've never really had issues with. But nonetheless, he had a negative experience. But that's not the point. The point in all 3 of these stories, the story he had with the bank, the one I had with the car dealership, and the other one that I had with the attorney, there is a common theme. And the common theme is I was an upset customer, number 1, and number 2, I said nothing about it. Now, Draw the conclusion, business owners. How well of a job are you doing? How good of a business are you running? And my question for you is, how do you know? My guess is that if you have a negative experience, now it might be a little bit different when it comes to appraisal because, we're talking big money. We're talking my loan didn't go through. We're talking you son of a gun. You told me it was worth this and it actually sold for that. I get it. Sometimes we get that feedback. Sometimes we get those comments that I think are super important for us. But here's the moral of the story. What is not being said about your business? Now, I know what you're saying, Dustin. Okay, so what? What can I do about that? Well, there's a couple of things. First of all, you can follow up. One of my mastermind members calls every single client of his when he does non-lender work. And he calls and he explains the appraisal to them and he talks about it with them. And there's a reason for that. Okay. He wants the feedback. He wants the ratings. He wants to know how he's doing as a business owner. That's number one. You could do that. Okay. Or you could just pick up on the subtle clues that sometimes are left. Okay. For example, this gal that I dealt with at the car dealership, I dropped several hints during the negotiation process and with her manager as well that I wasn't really happy about being told one thing and then when I show up to the table seeing that there's something else there. Okay, even though I gave 10s down the road, that was not the only feedback that they received. If they were listening, they would know that there was an issue there, and I hope that they dealt with that issue. This individual by the name of Jared that I just dealt with as far as my contract goes, if he was smart and if he picked up on the clues that I sent multiple times through the phone voicemails that I left and the frustration with his secretary and sometimes actually emailing his secretary and saying, hey, could you nudge Jared because I've sent him 3 emails and I haven't heard anything back. Folks, I hope as a business he is listening to those subtle clues. And I hope as an appraiser, you are listening to those subtle clues as well. I think it will serve you well long term down the road as a business owner and as one who runs a business who cares about its reputation. Speaking of reputation, how is yours? How is your business running? Would you like to move your business forward? Right now we have an opening. I take that back. I think Dallas is full at this point. No, I think we may have one. We may have one seat available in Dallas. Okay, so masterminds, folks. What is a mastermind? The opportunity to come together on a regular basis, talking about coaches, talk about mentors. How would you like to have 7 of them in the room with you, myself included, to go over your business and help you to improve it as an appraiser? We have at least one opening in Dallas, Las Vegas. We have 2 dream teams in Las Vegas, Salt Lake, Chicago, and Washington, D.C. If you are interested, please act now. I don't want this to sound like an infomercial, which you got to act now. And if you do, I'm going to give you some Ginsu knives. I'm just telling you the honest truth. There is like 1 seat available, maybe 2 in some of the masterminds, but like 1 seat available in every mastermind right now. So if you want to be involved, I've got to cap it at 8. We just can't meet for a full day and have more than 8 there. So that's where we're at. Hope you'll join us. Check us out on the web, theappraisercoach.com, theappraisercoach.com. Drop down from the memberships to the dream team and sign up there, or at least reach out to me via email and I'll call you and we'll talk to you about the dream team. Maybe we should start there with a phone call. Reach out to me, thecoach@theappraisercoach.com. Thanks, folks. Catch you next time.